Hi everybody, Ben here at Glide. I am today filming video 1 in what is going to be a 5-part series where we go through an entire example of essentially configuring a brand new workflow system and try and cover off all of the key concepts as we go. This video 1, is going to cover the obvious bit that everyone thinks of, the stages, the steps. Video 2 will then move on to the more user-orientated concepts. That's job positions, job holder, using the pool. Video 3 will look at our target dates and our deadlines. Video 4 is going to look at the options for using automated email and SMS, both internally and externally. And finally, video 5 will add on a couple of the more advanced features of the workflow editor. So that's having multiple subsystems and multiple route variations. So let's have a look at my example. Coming up on screen now, you'll see sort of thing that you might perhaps have a meeting with the team in the office and think, right, we're setting up a workflow. What does it need to look like? This is tracking our VAT filing process. In my Glide system, and indeed in any Glide system, you'll always have a VAT workflow. It's one of our templates. Over in America, Canada, you have a GST template as well. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to create a brand new one and just call it VAT2. Let's get started. So you have to be a super user. If you've just created a Glide trial, you will be a super user. If you're not, then a super user can make you a super user. And once you are, you can click on config, and it's edit workflow systems. Sorry, my mouse is I think a little bit low on battery, so apologies if it takes me a while to navigate around. We're going to want to come down here to create new workflow system, and for this we're going to be choosing the top option here, date-based trigger. Of course, wherever you are in the world, these VAT returns, they need filing periodically. It's a recurring workflow. So we want that top one. The manual creation, that would be more relevant for things like a VAT registration, a one-off workflow, which is initiated by yourself. So we'll click OK there. It's going to just highlight in green my new system, and it started off life inactive, which is fine. And I'm going to click on the pencil icon here to begin the editing process. First one, we're going to give a name to our system. So if we're going to edit system settings, I am, as I said, going to call this VAT version 2. The menu name simply allows you to have a slightly shorter name that will fit nicely in the menus. Clearly, no need for that here. It's applicable to both individuals and organisations. I'll come back and worry about the pool screen later on. I'm going to leave it as not active for now. Job positions, that's all video 2. So let's not worry about that. Let's click save. That's given our workflow system a name. If it were active, it would have that name in the menu and on the client cards, so on and so forth. So subsystems, every workflow system will have 1. It's impossible to have 0. And I'd say probably 90%, 95% of workflow systems only need 1. Video 5, we will look at having a second one, where that might be useful, where it might not be useful. But you need to give this thing a name as well, and where you have only got a single one, more often than not, it can just be the same name again. So pop that in. We've only got 1, so that the order is also irrelevant. That will become relevant when you have 2. We're only going to have a single workflow route. Again, video 5 is going to look at that. So the only thing I'm going to change here is default status not active. That means that this is a recurring workflow, and if I create a new client, it will default to being not active. Okay, so if we just go on a different tab and find a client card, we won't yet see my VAT2 here because I haven't made it active, but you'll see all of the recurring workflows are either green or red. Green means the client is active, you provide this service to this client. Red means the opposite. And your default settings simply says, when you create a new client, what should we default it to? So we've gone for not active, which I think is the sensible setting for things where a lot of your clients might not have this service. Okay, now before I get into the main topic for video 1, stages and steps, This is a recurring system, and I just want to touch on the trigger field. So any recurring workflow system needs at least one trigger date field. You can have as many as you like. Let's just have a look at that concept back on the Ben's Chippy client card. If we go to payroll, for example, and if we activate this, this has got loads of triggers here. So, you know, in this instance, typically they are reflecting a frequency, but that's not always the case. So, what do we want? Well, for now, I'm simply going to create the obvious, well, here in the UK, the obvious one, the quarterly one. And I'm going to call that next, and I'll explain in a moment why I'm putting the word next. That quarter end date. Anything that says order, it's just about the order they're displayed in. And as we've said before, whilst you've only got one, you don't need to worry. Frequency type is going to be months. Got a lot of month options here. Just the difference between 28 and 31 and 29 and 31 is simply which days are treated as the end of a month and would roll forward to the end of the next month. So I've gone for that option there. My frequency amount will be 3. That means a job will be created every 3 of these, so every 3 months. And creation days relative to trigger date, I'm just going to put this as -5. That means that my jobs will create 5 days ahead of the quarter end. And I'm going to hit save. What I think I'll do, just to make the video a bit more interesting, is I'm actually going to jump back to here, and I'm going to actually activate this workflow system. It's not ready to be activated yet, so you wouldn't do that in real life. What it means is that I can come back to my client card and we can actually see the tab here, VAT V2, defaulted to inactive as I requested. And if I activate this, you will see my single solitary trigger date field, next VAT quarter end date. And when you are putting a client, activating a client on this workflow, whether it's one new client or if you're importing hundreds, same principles, you have to get it green. But you have to do one other thing to get jobs to start creating. You have to give the system the first job date. So let's say that, let's go for this month. Let's say August, 31 August is my first job that will be going through Glide. First thing we want to track, first job we want to appear on the dashboard, so on and so forth. We can hit save. We'll see that the job will create on the 26th of August. That's because I did the -5 on my creation offset. And important to mention, jobs will create forevermore. You don't have to start a job, finish a job. The creation of future jobs is independent of everything else, and they will create until such a time as you deactivate this service or deactivate the entire client. Okay, so let's get on now with the main content for video 1, and that is creating our stages and our steps. So I'm going to go back into the editor, into my VAT V2, and we want to be on the routes tab. So we have a single route. It's defaulted to being called standard. You can call it whatever you like with the little button here. I'm going to leave it as standard for now. And whenever you create a new workflow, the system will create a kind of a mini one-stage workflow for you. So here, job creates, it runs the creation step, it sits on the stage called stage 1, and at some point you click a button and the job is complete. So we want to replicate what we saw earlier on the diagram. First thing to think about with stages is just to decide if you've got the correct number. Couple of mistakes that we see being made, and I should say the stages here are the blue rectangles. So you don't want too many or too much detail. So here we've got a job started stage. You don't really want to be going down the road of having reviewing bank, reviewing sales ledger, reviewing bad debts. Don't confuse it with a checklist. That's too many stages. People are going to kind of lose the big picture milestone info that we're hoping to convey. Also, when you go down that route, you get into you make it a lot harder to know what order these things should happen in. Sometimes there is no order. And actually, Glide does cater for more checklist style components. That's what we call job fields. We'll come on to those separately. So really for our stages, we are focused on the big picture milestones. Equally, you don't want too few, because if you have too little detail, then the information conveyed by Glide will still leave, questions to be asked. Now, actually, I've kind of deliberately included an example here. So if we jump back to the drawing that we did in the team meeting, then what you'll see here is that we're requesting info, and then the next thing we're interested in is when we start the job and then when we review the job. The fact that there is a review stage says to me that someone else is reviewing this file. So I think it's actually important to know when the file was completed. So I would actually have an extra stage in here, a bit like this. So we now know when the job started, it's when it is in progress, when it's passed for review, when it's reviewed. How do we go about this on Glide? So if we jump back to Glide here, job creation, the reason it's yellow, that just happens, that happens automatically. And here is our real stage 1. I'm going to edit this stage just to turn it into what we want. The document drawn up here by our colleague simply says info requested. That is the milestone achieved. That is what's been achieved when you complete this stage. The stage description describes the state of the job whilst it is on that stage, before the bit has been achieved. So in this case, that would be something like to request info. Another way of thinking about it is that this one tends to sound, be in the past tense. This is what happened, whereas this is very much kind of the present. Display order. We will have multiple stages. It is important to give them an order. All that actually does is helps the system list them in the correct order on the job card. We'll come back and look at groups later. For now, I'm just going to leave them all in the same one. And we're not going to worry about these settings just now. So let's hit save. So that stage already existed. I've simply changed it to be what I wanted it to be. Let's actually have a job running along at the same time. So this job will create automatically on the 26th of August, but I can just hit create now. We can have this job early. So we have a job, and let's get in here because we've got our stage description here, to request info. And over on the left here, we see the milestone achieved. I want to build up a dashboard so we can be linking this to dashboard widget. So I'm just going to call this that v2 info. Click on my name, see my new dashboard, and click on the plus icon. I want to look at the progress monitor by stage table. And what this would do is this lists our stages. So if we jump back here, the blue things are our stages. Job complete, that's actually also a stage, but it's just the one that captures all of the completed jobs. We have a button here just called complete job. That is quite simply the default text for my step here that moves away from to request info. So I just want to explain about the difference between a stage and a step. The stages we've covered off as being these things here. Stages are the places where your job will be. You can say, right, we've got 10 jobs here, 20 jobs there. People can say, how many jobs have we got at this stage? They are a location where a job can be. Just to kind of cover off, why would you want a stage? Well, if it's important to know which jobs are at a certain stage, then you need a stage. So by that I mean if a manager in the practice wants to be able to say how many jobs are awaiting review, clearly you need a stage that will hold those jobs. You might also desire a record of when something happened. Coming back to here, whenever you click a progress button, so if I were to click the complete job there, it will record an actual date. The actual date is filled out automatically. It is a properly audit logged system of who clicked this, when did they click it, if you've got multiple buttons, which one did they click? Say if you've got jobs on awaiting info, you might have a button that just says chased info, and all it does is records this date because it's nice to have the audit trail of when you requested information. In addition, if you want to have a target date for something to be done, you need to have a stage for what it is you want doing. That'll make more sense in video 3. And also, if a stage represents the fulfillment of a deadline, then again you'd want a stage for that. The steps are a feature that simply doesn't exist in a lot of workflow systems, certainly wouldn't really be reflected in any Excel spreadsheet. They are critical to Glide. A lot of our kind of unique and kind of cleverest functionality is wrapped up in these steps. Steps are the grey rectangles here, and on a job card they are the blue progress. They're the opposite colour, they're the blue progress buttons. Okay. You also have a step that's run on job creation, and as we'll find out in video 2, there's another special step that's run when a job's taken from the pool. So, if your workflow is simply just going to be like a linear, here's a stage, here's a button, move on to the next one, in all likelihood, the name of your single step, I'm just going to edit this one, would be very, very similar to the milestone achieved. You know, the stage was to request info. What happens to mean we've done that stage? Well, we requested the info. Info requested. I'm going to hit save for now on that, just so I can show you the impact of that. So I want to come back to the job card, hit refresh, and we can see this is what we're configuring here, the buttons. Okay, we don't want to complete the job at that point. We've got more work to do here. Just going to jump back now into editing this step. Currently it goes to job complete. I actually want this to go to a new stage. Apologies, on my monitor, this is slightly hard to read. That will be correct, probably on your monitor too. That'll be corrected very soon. What we're actually doing here is we're saying, you know, when this progress button's clicked, take me to, and rather than choosing a stage, we're saying, look, we need a new one. So again, I'll ignore the drop downs, apologies. Again, the new stage milestone, well, what's our next stage? It's another example where I've deliberately missed out a stage. If you're recording that you've requested info, when you click the button to say info requested, you need to be on the next stage immediately. You know, the system will put you on the next stage. I think it is necessary for that next stage to be awaiting info. Okay, I'll edit our diagram here, and when we were talking earlier about how many stages do you need, if you have too few stages, you will just leave questions to be asked, because if your job's on the stage to request info, you phone up the client and say, hi, I'd like your info, please. You would come to this job card and you click the button say info requested. If that's sat on a stage that was then called to start job, someone's going to look on the dashboard, they're going to say, right, we've got 10 jobs we can start, go and start them. And you're going to find, well, actually, we're still waiting for the info here. So this is clearly an occasion where we need awaiting info. So let's make that stage. So the milestone would be info. I'm going to put chased/received, explanation to follow for that, and the stage description is awaiting info. Now, rather than giving it an order value of 10, 20, 30, when you're doing it via this mechanism, you just tell it where to go. And when you're building up a new one, it's nice and easy. It just goes at the end there. So let's hit save, see what this looks like. So now we're on to request info. We click info requested and we go to awaiting info. So let's follow that through. I'm just going to refresh my job card there. So I'm going to click info requested. I've come off the phone with my client. I'm going to click info requested. First of all, I just want to refresh the dashboard, get that second stage. We've got a 1 up there and a 0 there. So we're going to say, yep, we've requested info. And this is now on the stage. If we go to our dashboard and hit refresh, we are now on the stage awaiting info. Just to explain, we don't have any steps that go from this stage yet, so I don't have any buttons. But yeah, like I was saying, it needs to be on awaiting info. If that had gone into a stage to start job, you're suffering from too few stages. Let's now go and make the rest of our stages. So we've requested our info, we're on awaiting info. I'm now going to click the plus icon to add another step. Okay, we can actually, once we've done this, we can go back and this is again going to a new stage. My new stage is the one we've got here, job started. So again, the milestone is what we wrote down there, job started. The stage description is to start job. And the order that, of course, is going down at the bottom there. My progress button name will be, well, on the stage awaiting info, we're going to the stage start job. This is obviously info received. And let's hit save. There we go. We will now see our button here. Couple of reasons why steps are so important. If you are just listing stages and putting dates, maybe on a spreadsheet, you're really just recording some very interesting data, but you're leaving loads of question marks. This is a classic one, really, you know, awaiting info. So many things can happen there. Maybe you phone the client to chase the client. Maybe you decide you don't need any info. Lots of different options. Maybe the info comes in, it's not complete. There's so many things that can happen. If you want a system that can convey to everyone exactly what happened and that can behave in a way that's relevant to exactly how things unfolded, you need the steps. And we can introduce a first example here of having a second step, and it'll explain why I put the little cross in there. Sorry, the slash. Let's go back to here, and I'm going to go back to my awaiting info. I'm going to click plus to add another step. This one's going to go from awaiting info to, and I'm just going to go to awaiting info. And this is going to say info chased. Oops, let's go in there. So let's hit save. Okay, so we've now got two steps coming out of this one, and this one just loops around. Let's have a look at that on the job card. Yeah, first time we're seeing two steps here. We've got more options here. We are recording a more detailed data set. It's giving people answers, not asking questions or creating questions. The info chase one is nice because you can click it, it just stays on the same stage. You know, maybe you click it 10 times. It's useful because you can see, like I say, the history of who clicked the button, when, which button did they click. It's also useful because of workflow actions. They kind of come into videos 2, 3, and 4. There's so many things you can do with workflow actions. You know, maybe we are changing the job holder to get our admin team to chase the info. Maybe we're setting a target date for when we next want to chase the info. Maybe we are sending an email that chases the info. So workflow actions are really important. So let's progress through. So to start job, click plus, and from there we're going to new stage, and this new stage is the extra blue one I added in there, in progress. So milestone achieved is job complete or handed for review, whatever, and in description is in progress, or maybe job in progress. Display order will be at the bottom. Okay, and my button here is just job started. There we go. Step coming out of in progress will be handed for review. And that's going to go to a new stage. The stage will be milestone is reviewed to review job. Once you get the hang of this, you can literally do this in 5 seconds flat. So to review job, the next step along here was to send to client. So I'm going to call this one reviewed OK to send. It's another nice example of where you'd expect there to be more than one option. So I'll have new stage, and it is sent to client, to send to client. Save. As we said a moment ago, great example here of pressing plus for another step and saying reviewed issues to clear. I should explain, I'm just putting the same thing in the description. You can have up to 140 characters in there. So this one's going to go back to in progress. There we go, so we've got a nice loop going back. Not a loop, we've got a kind of reverse progress going on there. So after to send to client, so what are we doing here? Send to client. We want that to go to a new stage called approved by client. awaiting client approval. Okay, glancing back at our diagram, we're now all the way around to here. We simply need to file the thing, and then it's complete. So, new step. Again, awaiting client approval kind of lends itself to having an approved and a not approved. Surprisingly, you don't see that too often. I think, maybe here, clients often just approve their VAT returns. That's going to go to a new stage called filed to file, in this case with HMRC. Obviously, same principle applies if you're over in Ireland, America, Canada, wherever. And once we've done that, new step from there, filed. And this is going to go to, we've already got that job complete step. It was one of the ones that the system made automatically. And it's going to be happy because, yeah, I've reached completion. When we look at groups, I'll explain how you denote a stage to be a completion stage. So that is the glide version of this.
Okay, so we've configured the entire workflow. I have just created a brand new job. That is the November 19 job here. And we're going to walk through the entire job. So here we are on the job card on the first stage to request info. And over on our dashboard, if I just refresh here, we are this job in the first row, number 1. So we can click info requested, and that puts us onto awaiting info. And now we're on row 2. Got our 2 options here, so we can say info chased as many times as we like, and we can see a build-up of when we've been chasing info there, and at some point we click info received. That moves us on, and we're now down on to start job. Now we can click job started. Again, just refresh our dash here, and we're job in progress. We can click handed for review, and that puts us on to review job. Got two jobs on that stage at the moment. And we can say issues to clear. That puts us back on job in progress. And we can say OK to send. That puts us on to send to client. And then we can click send to client. We go to awaiting client approval, and finally approved. And last stage, to file with HMRC. That last one there, and we'll click filed. And we're complete. We get to the end of the job, we get a green tick up here. So hope video 1 has been helpful in providing an understanding of stages and steps and what they are and what they're used for. We'll be adding extra videos onto this exact same example to go through other things like job holder, job positions, target dates, deadlines, emails, SMS. So keep an eye out for those videos. If you need any help whatsoever, please do just click on the blue icon here and click on the ask, and you can send a message to the team or just give us a call at the office. Thank you.